Welcome to the Universal Podcast Network. One voice, everywhere.
I am Daniel Lucas.
Hi, I'm Jackie Pelegrin.
And welcome to AI 101, where innovations meet understanding, breaking down artificial intelligence into clear, practical insight that empower you to navigate, adapt, and lead in an AI-driven world. Another week, another great episode with my legendary co-host, Miss Jackie Pellegrin. I don't know
Nice
what's
to see
happening
you.
to me. Nice
Yeah,
to
I
see
don't
you,
know.
Miss Jackie.
Sure. Well, it's kind of cool because I can see myself 3 times. So I can see myself on the side and then on the live. So I'm like, there's three of
I,
me here. Yeah.
yes, I don't know what's happening to me, Miss Jackie. Oh, it's been a long
Bit
day. I
tongue
think.
twisted. It
I
happens.
think it's been a long day. How are you, partner?
I'm doing good. Just keeping busy. And it is so hot out here in Phoenix. Tomorrow it's supposed to be 115. I don't want to go out and do
Oh
anything. I just want to stay
my.
inside. It's
Mm.
it's just after 6 p.m. in Phoenix and it's 111 degrees outside. Oh,
Mhm.
wow.
Well, hoping for
So,
the best. It's
yeah.
summer, people. Summer heat. While the other part of the world is burning. Thank God you're not burning, Miss Jackie.
Yes, I'm glad for that.
Only the temperature. But
Right.
anyway, thank you so much for being part and supporting us. And our main topic for today, Miss Jackie.
Today's topic is shadow AI, the tools employees use when no one is looking. So, employees aren't always waiting for their companies to approve artificial intelligence, unfortunately. Many are already using it quietly to finish their work faster. So, they're kind of doing it behind the scenes when they think no one's looking or watching.
Oh my God, behind the
hmm
scene. Um, what is a shadow AI, Miss Jackie?
So, to me, what it means is that they are using unauthorized AI tools that the company is not approving when approved technology to them feels limited, slow, or unavailable. So, they know that there's certain tools out there that can make things better. So instead of using that closed AI model or that approved tool, they go to something else that may be vulnerable to information being hacked, right? Or if they're giving out too much information and it's personal, then that's not a good thing either. So they can risk a lot of company information getting out there.
Mm, yes, indeed. People shadow AI refers to an artificial intelligence tools employees use for work without their employees' approval or knowledge. This may include public chatbots, transcription platforms, writing assistant, and well, let's say image generators and automated meeting tools. The technology itself may be useful, but using it outside the company policies can create serious risks. So, Miss Jackie, why are employees secretly using AI tools?
I think one of the things is that they're finding that some of the internal tools that they're approved to use, or maybe a closed model, that it's it's not as maybe effective as what they're used to. So if they're using a tool like ChatGPT for other projects that are outside of work or for their own personal projects like vacations and things like that, and then they go to use another type of tool that's approved by the company or an internal tool, they may think, well, I don't think it really knows everything that I want it to know. And so I think that's why some employees turn to it. And maybe it's just something that they're already used to the other tools. So it's just maybe natural instinct, maybe to go to those instead of using what the company has approved.
Well said, Miss Jackie. Employees often use them to write emails, summarize documents, analyze information, generative ideas, or complete assignments faster. Some turn to unauthorized platforms because approved workplace tools are limited for difficult to use. This suggests that shadow AI is often caused by unmet workplace needs, not simply employee misconduct. So, Ms. Jackie, what is information should never be well entered to in an authorized AI tool?
Yeah, so I think some things, especially if someone is working at a place where there's client data or customer data, I don't think they should upload that. No client records, no, you know, customer information. I would say also internal documents. Make sure that you're not uploading anything that has proprietary information. Also, financial information, that's important too, like the earnings of a company over the course of a year or something like that. And also, I
Mm-hmm.
would say even unpublished work too, because that can get out in the wrong hands. So it's something that where I work, we're trying to help the faculty really understand that you cannot just go to a tool and ask it to get something for you and then just put it into the curriculum and that's it. And it's done, it's a done deal, because that's not good, because it's grabbing information from all places, right? It's
Yeah.
a large language model. So we make sure that at least as much as we can that they are utilizing the approved tools, so that way we know at least there's some of that privacy and protection there. So for example, if you work at a academic institution, make sure not to upload student information because it can get out there, and before you know it there's a data breach or something like that, and that can be really bad for not only the institution but also
Mm-hmm.
for the students as well, and it's hard to take that back once it's out there.
Definitely, it's hard to take it out, just like AI roving around us. And employees should never submit password, private customer information, medical records, or financial details, trade secrets, or unpublished strategies, or confidential contracts. Once information is entered into the outside platform, the company may be control over how it is stored or processed. So, Miss Jackie, what are the greatest dangers of shadow AI?
Mm. I think one of the things is if whoever's using it, if they're not disclosing that they're utilizing AI, I think everybody needs to do that. It can be difficult to review that AI generated output because you're not sure what, I mean, I can kind of tell. I think I've seen enough AI generated curriculum content to kind of see, oh, this sounds AI generated. Sounds too good to be true, because many times what I'm seeing is, like, for example, educational objective. AI will generally put two verbs in front of that. So it'll say
Yes.
identify and analyze. Well, I know as an instructional designer, identify is on the lower order thinking skills of Bloom's taxonomy, and analyze is higher order thinking that demonstrates critical thinking. So yeah, it's, or it'll start to mesh two ideas together and put it in an objective. So it'll say identify whichever it is and then describe this, and I'm thinking, well, if they can describe it they can identify it. So I'm having to
Mhm.
catch those things that AI is notorious for doing, and there's other things that it does notoriously well that we've talked about on this episode. But yeah, so it's interesting because some of the things that I think that we need to catch as humans, if it's not disclosed that AI was used clearly, I think it can be harder for people because it sounds so good, right? It
Yes.
sounds polished, and but you have to look for those subtle things, like what I just mentioned with that example. It may not be obvious to a faculty member that's working on a curriculum or a course or something like that. But for me, I've been trained that you don't want to put two verbs in a prompt, or in an objective, or you don't want to overwhelm the learner with 10 different things in one rubric or something like that. So it's those things those judgment calls that we have to make that I think are so important. So I think that's one of the things, is that we just need to be transparent as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, and one other thing I think that is hard is if we do blanket bans across the board for AI. That's difficult to enforce because How are you going to do that? You can't turn off the internet, right? And it's hard to turn
Yes.
off the AI. I mean, you could block it. IT could block that, but it seems like people will find a way around that somehow. And so it's just one of those things where I think we just have to continue to teach responsible and ethical AI use. And then I think once we do that and we teach people even at a young age how to do that, and then even in college and in the workplace, I think that will translate better than saying, no, I'm going to police you and you can't use it because they will find a way to use it.
Mm.
Yes.
We need to have a guardrails, people,
Yes.
about AI because nowadays we don't have, sorry to say.
I
So
agree.
the major
Yeah.
risk includes data exposure, inaccurate outputs, copyright disputes, cybersecurity threats, privacy violations, and regulatory penalties. Another problem is the employers may make decisions using AI generated material without knowing where the information originated. So, Miss Jackie, can companies detect and authorize AI use?
Mm. I think they can. I think what they need to do is they need to be able to have those approved tools available. Don't just limit it to one tool. And then I think you'll have a better chance of not having to go out and monitor people and do that. But I think there's a way they can do that. I know for me, like if like my company does not allow us to use Google, anything Google related, whether it's Google Drive, Google Docs, or anything like that, because it can compromise the curriculum and the integrity of what we have. So when I go into any Google site on my work computer, an IT pop-up message will come up and it'll say you're using this, and so it'll warn me. And so I think maybe there's a way they can do that and integrate something that warrant just a pop-up warning and saying, this is not authorized and things like that. So there's ways that it can do that. But I think one of the things that companies need to do is they need to have clear policies written. Don't wait until you have something happen and you're trying to get that back, or you're trying to regain your credibility as an organization. I would say put those clear policies in place before things happen and not after, because then it's hard to get your reputation back as a company, right?
Hmm.
And then I think companies also should not just have the clear policies and list those approved tools, but also offer training, offer role specific training for the employees. Don't just give it to them and say, here, go use it, and then there's no training around it. So I think that's another thing that's really important. And if you have different people that are in your organization that are really good at AI or know how to use it really well and can train others, then maybe you have a champion. Maybe you can have a few people that are AI champions in your company, and they can be the go-to people that you others can go to if they're not sure about something, or if they want to be able to talk to another employee without feeling like they don't know what they're doing, or they feel like they're going to get in trouble or something like that. Then they can go to that person and say, should I do this or should I not? And then that way they can kind of get some guidance before they make a mistake as well. So I think some of those things can help.
A guidance, definitely. So organizations can monitor network activity, review software access, examine unusual data transfers, and of course conduct security audits. Well, however, excessive surveillance can damage employment trust. Companies should combine reasonable monitoring with education, transparency, and accessible approved tools. So,
Yes.
Ms. Jackie, should employees be punished for using shadow AI?
Hmm.
Of
That's
course not.
a good question. Yeah, I don't think so. I think what companies need to do is be able to maybe even survey employees and find out why, if they're using another tool, what's the reason. Make it an anonymous survey so people feel like they can open up to that. It's kind of interesting because there was a workplace study that was done by Microsoft and LinkedIn, and it was
Mm.
published in 2024, so only a couple years ago. But this is startling. When I saw this data, I was like, wow, this is crazy when I was doing my research. 78% of surveyed AI users were bringing their own AI tools to work. So that's a big number, right? That's almost
Mm,
80%. And so that report, what it did was it warned that the unmanaged adoption of these tools that aren't approved can place company data at risk, like we're talking about, and prevent organizations from capturing broader benefits of that coordinated use. So yeah, so I think even if you have like at work where I'm at, we have a committee. We have an AI committee, and we're there to talk about what's working, what's not working, what can we do to make things better. And I think that really helps because then employees feel like they have a group of people. There's about 20 of us that are on that committee, and our employees feel like they have people to go to, right? And so it's really helpful. And then we're consistently making improvements. We're looking at the data to see, how well are these tools being used, especially the chatbots that are being created. And so it's really helpful. But when I saw that number, I thought, wow, that's huge. Companies need to be aware of that. Yeah, for sure.
a
Yes.
huge one. And
Mhm.
the response should depend on seriousness of the violation or whether clear policies and training existed. Deliberately exposing confidential information may require disciplinary action, and minor first time misuse may be better addressed through education, improved policies, and safer alternatives. So, Ms. Jackie, can shadow AI produce inaccurate work?
Oh, yes, I think so. I think that's one of the things that we have to be aware of is what the limitations are of these tools because they can sound polished, right? They can sound like they know what they're talking about, but the key is that these tools don't have emotions. They sound like they do, right? They can sound empathetic, they can sound like they're friendly or something like that, but they're just basing it off of what they've been taught and trained to do. So
Mhm.
yeah, so I think it's important for us to know that yeah, it's not always going to be accurate, and that's why we need to do our due diligence and use our judgment in that process.
Definitely. AI, yes, they hallucinate people.
Mhm.
AI systems create convincing but incorrect facts, citations, calculations, or conclusions. Employee must verify important information and should not never treat an AI generated answers as automatically reliable, especially in legal, medical, financial, or safety related work. And Ms. Jackie, how can organizations control shadow AI without banning innovation?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say make sure that the organization has options for employees. So I would say don't just limit them to one tool. So, for example, we have a closed system model, but we're now also allowed to use Copilot. And Copilot is part of, as we know, Microsoft, right? So it's already a secure way that we're able to use it. So it's nice because we don't have to just use that model that has been created internally by people in our company, but we can also use Copilot as well. So it's nice to know that there are a couple different options that are available because what's nice about Copilot is it does a better job of generating images. Like if you want to use those for training or professional development, something like that, then you can go to Copilot and say, can you create this image for me? Whereas the curated tool that's internal, right, it doesn't do a good job of doing that. Yeah, it's just not there yet. Even though it's built off of ChatGPT, it still doesn't. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't get it right. And so when I want to create an image for something, I make sure to now use Copilot instead. So it's nice to be able to have those choices and so employees don't feel like, well, I can't do this with this tool and this is the only option I have. But then they may think, well, I'll just go out to an outside source instead. So yeah, so it's good when you can offer employees options that they can be able to have and choose from.
Well said, Ms. Jackie. Companies can provide secure, approved platforms, establish simple usage rules, classify sensitive information, and train employees to review AI generated work. A complete ban may push usage further underground. A controlled environment usually give employees a safer way to experiment. Indeed. So, Miss Jackie, who's responsible when unauthorized AI causes harm?
Mm, that's a good question because I think it should come back to the individual because they made the choice to go and use that unauthorized tool. But then I also think some responsibility should be on the employer or the company, right? Because they should have done their due diligence to be able to offer, like we're talking about, those opportunities, the training, and the clear policies. Because if employees aren't sure, they're just going to go with whatever is available. Because I think to me, what shadow AI is often signaling to companies is that employees see a genuine need that they have. And so that best response that they can do is to combine those safe alternatives, those clear boundaries, like you and I are talking about, that education or training, and then accountability. So I think if you can combine all of that, you'll have a better experience. So yeah, so I think it should come from both sides of it, the employer and the employee. But I think we can avoid some of that if we're taking those necessary steps along the way.
Indeed, the necessary steps. And to wrap up our discussion for today, Miss Jackie, will shadow AI eventually disappear?
Hmm. That's a good question because I believe in free market, and so I think we don't want to have just one tool out there monopolizing the whole marketplace, right? So I think as more tools get more sophisticated or are developed, with the innovation that technology brings, I think we'll start to see more tools become more secure. I think you'll see a need for that, and so I believe that yes, I think it eventually will go away because the technology will continue to get better and more secure, and people will have choices in what they're able to share and not share. So I think so, and I believe the tools will put up the necessary guardrails because especially when you have young children, or you have elderly people, or anybody that's vulnerable, you want to make sure that they don't get duped into something, right? Because
Yeah.
yeah, you want to make sure that they're protected, and anyone really. I mean, students, you don't want their data getting out there. You don't want client information getting out there, or customers information, anything like that. So yeah, so I think it'll eventually fade. I hope so, because I definitely don't want to see a shadow AI system out there like a black market, where it's underground and stuff like that, because that's definitely not safe. So let's hope so.
Yes, probably not completely, people. As AI tools become easier to access, employees will continue looking for faster ways to work. And the practical solutions is to bring responsible AI use into the open through secure technology, clear expectations, employee training, and human eyesight, and of course oversight. So, Miss Jackie, would you like to plug in something?
Sure. If anyone would like to listen to the podcast I have, it's called Designing with Love, and it's an educational podcast. I think I'm going to have like episode 140 or somewhere around there. I've lost track. I think I'm close to 140 now. Come out on Sunday, so that's exciting. And I'm halfway through my myth series now, so that's exciting. I got to get ready for the next series and record more episodes. so so
Yes.
I don't have as many guests that have come on lately. So if anyone out there wants to be a guest, if you are in education, if you're in instructional design, I'm doing a call out to anyone that would like to come on my show, and just go to my website or reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to go over the details, and we can do a really great guest episode together.
Yes, people support Miss Jackie Pellegrin, because if you support her, for sure, more and more powering episodes of the podcast itself. And of course, our 101s, we're live through all social media like Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, on X as well, on Instagram every Friday and Saturday. Because every Friday we're doing AI 101, Tech 101, and of course, Mystery Stories 101 coming resume next week.
Yes.
Yes, and of course our live 365 in the US, our online radio under Universal Podcast Network, and our radio.com in the UK. And of course, we celebrate small wins here on Universal Podcast. Miss Jackie, we have now 90,000 subscribers on YouTube.
That's amazing. That deserves an
Yeah.
applause. Yay.
Yes, we need an applause for that. We are near to 100,000, so mean to say we have a plaque sooner or later, and hoping for the best. And we're aiming for what? 20 million?
I love that. I was going to say 1 million, but I'll go for 20. Yeah, 20
Of
million.
course,
Yes,
20 million. Dream big, as they said, because you're not paying for it.
that's true.
And Miss Jackie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for joining us and keep learning.
Keep tuning, people, because Tech 101 coming after this.
Thank you for joining us on the Universal Podcast Network. One voice, everywhere.